We're going to go ahead and move on. We have Mr. Brian Lanoue here today. Good morning, Brian.
Mike, how are you?
Good to see you, sir.
Good to see you. How's everything?
Good. Well, I will tell you that Heather Summers was here the other day and brought Deviant Donuts.
Oh, really? Well, I put them downstairs. I thought you were on the first floor. So.
Oh. Gotcha. Mm-hmm. No, I'm teasing. So
he's really not. I am. You should have seen those donuts. It was insane.
Those were great. They're. I don't know how anyone can even eat those.
And she brought fresh eggs.
Yes, she did. But Brian brought Brian.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all we need.
I know. We're so sad in Sterling. We don't have Brian anymore.
I know.
They redistrict. That's right.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking. I bonded with the people so well there. I almost felt like I was breaking up with a long-term girlfriend by losing Sterling.
Right.
There's only two women there anyway. So.
Stop.
And we bring one of them here.
Well, I'll tell you, those Grange suppers are second to none, and the people truly wear their hearts on their sleeves. So I may not be on their ballot, but I'm still going to be hopefully be in their heart, and certainly in mine. So
of course.
And, the same goes to the folks in Plainfield. So.
Yeah. People are coming out with questions right away.
Okay.
But I think,
That didn't take long.
No.
Let's get it started.
But first, we'll just say, let's see, Donna Langlois says, "Hey, Brian, glad you're running again. Keep up the awesome work you're doing."
All right. Now, who did I make that check out to again?
It's LANGLOIS.
She accepts Venmo, Cash App,
same
PayPal.
Letters as my name.
I always thought Cash App was like the ghetto money transfer. Find me a Cash App. Something like that. It's actually run by Stripe. So which is one of those payment services.
Mm-hmm. Is Western Union still a thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And MoneyGram.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry.
No, it's okay. You're talking about me. You're talking about me and my attention deficit disorder.
I didn't take my Adderall yet.
Let's focus on Brian.
So before we get into any questions or anything like that, welcome on in. It's good to see you.
Thanks, Mike.
And tell us what's going on. I know you're running again for another term.
Yeah, we're running again. We're working hard, getting out, meeting the folks. As you mentioned, unfortunately, I did lose Plainfield and Sterling on the glass is half full side. They picked up Preston and Gales Ferry and parts of Ledyard, so which is positive. The people have welcomed me with open arms, and it's good to be back in my hometown of Preston. That's where I grew up, and Kathy's shaking her head. I went to school with her brother Chris, and who we affectionately call Bubba, and a great guy. So we're working hard in those towns, and the district just getting the message out. Pretty much running on my record of what I have hopefully accomplished for the last 4 years, and trying to do right by the people, the 45th, and getting my letting people know, especially in Preston and Ledyard, who Brian Lanoue is, what he stands for, and
people in Preston should definitely know.
People do, and there's some new folks that have moved in as well. So I want to make sure we get out and meet them. So that's been a very big focus, and I hear we got Spooktopia coming up this weekend, so that's going to be a lot of fun here in the borough. So very much looking forward to that. I'm going to go. I dress. People think I dress like it's Halloween every day. So I'll stay myself.
You dress up like a politician, right? There
you go.
Always look nice.
Thank you. But so it's been it's been very exciting, and just getting that message out of less government, less red tape, less taxes. I know not the first. I'm still not used to the term politician, but others who have certainly run for office have said that before. But that's really what needs to take place in our state. The land of steady habits. Here in Connecticut, it seems like when more people leave our state, the solution is raise taxes. Raise taxes, and let's pile on some more regulations, and that's causing more people to leave our state. I think Einstein said the definition of insanity is to repeat the same thing over and over again and expect a different result.
Any tax relief in the works for fuel oil this winter, similar to the relief for car fuel?
Yeah, I mean that certainly needs to happen. I certainly would support that. And the contract I signed with Connecticut, if the Republicans take control of the House, that's going to be one of our first objectives is certainly a tax relief on home heating fuel. The other issue that's really been creating a lot of issues with inflation is the gasoline tax on diesel.
Yeah.
That's what nobody's talking about. The governor.
Why aren't people not talking about
We're
that
talking
one?
about it.
Well, let me clarify. The folks in Hartford are not talking about it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it doesn't affect them.
People in my business, right? The governor's prided himself in the commercials and the ads that he put a moratorium on the gas tax, which is true for the automobile. But what he's not saying is, well, what he can't do for diesel. I think, well, what's diesel? That's our tractor trailer trucks. That's the 18-wheelers. That's what our goods and services are moving on. As those prices go up, that has to be passed on to the consumers. We called for a moratorium on that. The governor failed to do that. He allowed a tax increase on gasoline to go up in the spring. And the issue of home heating oil again, and this is in the interview I did with the New London Day yesterday, we talked about this as far as affordable housing and home heating oil. What we need to have is affordable jobs, people who are good paying jobs in our state again. We're not going to do that by continuing to go down the road we're going down. Look, we just passed the highway use tax on trucks, right? Every single mile a truck goes down the road on a state road, they're getting hit with a tax. Again, that's getting passed along to all of us. A family of two people, they think the grocery bill just on that one initiative is going to go up $500 for a family of two on your grocery bill.
Over a course of a year, right?
Over a year, yep. So that's again, that's where things are just.
Oh, I'm feeling it. I mean, the grocery bill.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We have a family of 5. It's
Yeah.
definitely gone up.
And remember the highway use tax that hasn't even come online yet.
Yeah.
That's coming into effect this January, so it's going to go up even more significantly when that comes into effect.
Why will they not talk about diesel? Why is it not part of the conversation?
Oh, again, that's the governor's trying to craft a message for re-election, saying, "Look at me, I put a moratorium on the gas tax," but he's not mentioning the diesel because he's having a very hard time talking about that. That's the elephant that's in the room is diesel. They've done nothing about that, and now he's trying to show where he says, "Look what I did." Well, no, you didn't.
Okay.
Well, and with the diesel being so high, everything is going up. Like we were at Econ Kill Turkey Farm the other day. Their feed bill has gone up $600 a week because the cost of feed has gone so much higher because the cost to transport it is going up. I mean, everything.
Well, just think about making the feed. If they buy the feed from somewhere, the person who's making the feed, they're getting the bags from one place. They gotta grind it from another, and all the whole chain of assembly is they're feeling the pinch because of increased gas prices and
gas, diesel. It's crazy,
right?
We also have to worry about this winter, from what I'm hearing, is that there may be a shortage of home heating fuel. So the prices of that will be going up. And then
the other day was saying something about, go fill your heating tanks now before it goes up more. And they were saying, please don't do that.
Right.
Because if everybody buys their fuel right now, there's not going to be fuel.
And things that are going on internationally that are affecting it and everything, that there actually may be a shortage of home heating fuel from what's being said now. So then how do you tackle that? And then there's going to be competitive prices for that. And then that could drive up prices.
So,
what about shelters? What about shelters? I mean, shelters are going to fill up. People can't heat their homes and it's 10 degrees outside and it's 35 degrees in their home. What are you going to do? Start a fire in your living room?
I think this isn't just affecting like the stereotypical, like the people that can get the heating assistance. This is affecting the middle class at this point.
Yeah. Well, look,
it always does.
Well, I mean, no, but I mean, as far as heating oil, like my husband has a great paying job. We're comfortable, but if we have to spend $1,200 a month to fill a heating tank, that's going to change our lifestyle immensely.
Yeah. That's the problem. There's several factors, but when I'm going to door after door after door in middle class neighborhoods, throughout the 5 towns, people are saying they're choosing between medicine and food. They're choosing between a home heating oil and they're going to eat or they're going to take their medicine.
Mhm.
You know, that's serious.
Yeah,
and
it is.
and some of the houses I would show you, you would never believe it.
Mm.
Right? This is the point you make a good point, Mike. It's not just the people you would typically think. It's not.
Yeah.
I mean, these are people
Right.
in very prominent homes saying that. I mean, it's a serious problem. And you look at it. Unfortunately, there's less and less people pulling the wagon in the state of Connecticut.
Right.
People have left our state. You look at the Fortune 500 companies. We lost over 25 Fortune 500 companies in the last less than 10 years.
Mhm.
I mean, that's that. Now
That's telltailing right there.
where did GE go? They went to Massachusetts.
Mhm.
What did the governor do there? They cut taxes.
Mhm.
Right. Every New Hampshire is doing very, very well. There's no state income tax in New Hampshire. There's very little regulation. There was somebody I was talking to who has a daughter who wanted to open an ice cream parlor in the area. It was going to take her over 18 months to do that. She went down to South Carolina and got the thing up and running in a month.
Wow.
You know, that's for an ice cream stand, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, just I mean, think about all the different industry, all the different
We've
folks.
lost a lot of it
Right.
here. Lost a lot.
Connecticut
Well, and
isn't
it's-
business friendly.
No.
When you look at the opportunities lost, there's a young man I know who went to college here in Connecticut. He was physically handicapped, but his mind was in the stars, right? And he had patents and trademarks on how to on clothes that would be Fendi and fashionable for the handicapped population,
Nice.
right? He had gotten patents on the equipment, on what it would take to use to manufacture
yeah.
the designs themselves. He had trademarks on SKUs. Very, very impressive. I told him, I says, would you ever think about Jewett City, coming to Jewett City? We have a lot of former sites that were once factories that could easily be retrofitted into
Mhm.
what you want to do. And, we're in between the two major highways and all the selling points. Jewett City sells itself, where we are. And he said to me, he says, Brian, he says, I'm aware of it. It's a great location. It would be ideal. Problem is, all the state regulations, all the state taxes. He says, the different businesses that I have to, the different agencies I have to deal with, is whether it's DCP or DPH or DEP, the alphabet divisions and soup of agencies. Right? He says it would take me 18 months just to get a shovel in the ground. By then, a competitor, somebody, one of the larger companies, would easily knock me off,
Mhm.
and I'd be out of the market.
Yep.
And that's the
sad.
problem.
Yeah.
And we're continuing to head down that road, and that's the bill I put in. Any new regulation that comes online, you have to look at get rid of 3 existing regulations.
Yeah.
That's
Good.
what I had. Unfortunately, the bill went nowhere with the current makeup of the legislature. I'm hoping that will change
I like that idea.
after November.
Mhm.
And
Here's a statement now, and honestly, I just want you to tell me if you think this is just flat up conspiracy theory, or if there's actually some meat to
Oh,
this.
those are fun.
Yeah. So you ask the people in Hartford, and see what they say. Sean says this is all part of the master plan to move the country to solar and wind.
Mm.
Is that? I mean, do you feel that that's what's happening here, and they're trying to push towards solar, especially solar? I think,
well, I don't know, but I can tell you this.
or conspiracy theory.
The EverSource bills, for folks that have one up in the district. I mean, I have my issues with EverSource. I'm not trying to defend EverSource. I want to be clear on that.
Mhm.
But I believe it was 2016, the legislature passed a bill requiring that EverSource and the UI have to have so much wind and solar in their portfolio. They have to acquire so much. The kilowatt hour, what it costs to harness that energy, those energy sources, are exponentially higher than fossil fuels.
Mhm.
It's so. Of course, that requirement started coming online in the last 2 or 3 years.
Mhm.
So what started happening to of course, our energy bills? They're ticking up. They have to pass it on to the
Mhm.
to the ratepayer. And look, I'm not against solar, wind. I mean, there's thermal that they think you can harness the heat from the ground. You got nuclear fusion where they ram the two two cells together to produce the fuel. There's a lot of potential out there, but we need to let the free market run its course. We need to let if the demand is there, if the technology has grown up enough, the consumers are going to respond. Competition and alternative energies that will create the best product for the consumers. But let it grow up on its own.
Yeah, don't force it.
You can't force it. Absolutely. Would I support funding to look at, is there a way to harness it cheaper? Those young people who are young and hungry and are looking for those alternatives and new innovative ideas to help fund some of that. Absolutely. I'm all for that to help these things grow up. But mandating that every single bus in the state of Connecticut has to be electric by 2030. How is the how's the ground, how the grid's going to support that?
Yeah.
How is that going to happen? I don't see how.
Are they even building the infrastructure to support that? Or
well, that's the problem. I mean, the infrastructure, the grid is not there. It's just, and can you imagine the cost of converting buses, every single school bus in Griswold, to electric? Yeah. Imagine the price tag of that. And on top of it, which I don't know if you're aware of, we voted, again, I was strongly opposed to it, but the Democrats passed in May that that our energy standards, we're going to adopt California energy standards.
Yes.
So whatever California, so think about this, imagine some of the assembly members and state senators, what they get from San Francisco and Los Angeles and Monterey Bay and Carmel and all these other places, right? People that none of us vote for. No, we will never vote for. Whatever they pass in California, our laws are automatically going to kick in and take effect. We essentially ceded our authority. It seems like the legislature last few years, this last term, one of the common threads is ceding our decision-making process, either to the governor or now to the legislature in California. I mean, that's just to me, that was one of the most ridiculous things we voted on. And
that doesn't even make any sense.
Now, so think about this: California, right? They lost a congressional seat after the census, right? The first time ever. So California is losing population. People are leaving there in droves, right? So these are the people we want to emulate, and that's the state we want to emulate.
Yeah,
and the state government we want to emulate is problematic to me.
And it's also the highest priced energy state in the country.
Well, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Well, aren't we like second?
If not, we're getting there.
California.
We're working hard at it.
We're like
we're
the
getting
East
there,
Coast
yeah.
version of
Yeah.
That's sad.
Coming in at number one with a bullet.
That's really
California.
sad. Closely behind.
Let's see. No snark meant, but seatbelts in cars are more expensive. So Peggy says.
More expensive than what?
Peggy, can you clarify? Can you clarify? Maddie says, I have said for years that New England will be the next California.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Not having them.
Not having the seatbelts?
I think that's what she is saying. Yet we need them? Yes. She's talking about the seatbelts. Do you wear your seatbelt?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just habit. Although
At
I've
this
noticed
point.
my kids have gotten into a habit of not putting them on right away.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, put it on. But I don't know if it should necessarily be, a law that you have to. I don't know. I'm kind of torn on that one, but it is. So we wear them.
Gotcha. You?
I wear mine.
Yeah.
My
Brandon?
husband does not.
Well, I certainly encourage people to certainly wear a seatbelt.
Do you wear your seatbelt?
But I think I certainly given an attempt. But as you know, I had a fractured shoulder, so it's a little hard.
Mm-hmm.
Getting.
Oh yeah, you're not a sling right now.
Yeah. Nice.
No, I'm breaking away from it. So we're getting there. It's healing slowly. But I certainly agree with Kathy. I think certainly children, minors should definitely have to wear seatbelts in an automobile. But look, I mean, for adults, people who are grown, intelligent people, I think we have a right to make a decision for ourselves if we feel a seatbelt is necessary. Certainly, it's safer. They do save lives. I'm not suggesting anybody don't wear it, but there needs to be some choice there. So that's
gotcha. Yeah. Where did that go all of a sudden?
I was not expecting that one.
So let's talk about your 2 terms that you have completed now. In Hartford. What is what is one of the things that you're most proud of that has been accomplished? Something a bill or whatever that you've done.
I think there's 2 things. I think a lot of issues. It's the constituent services, people who are having problems with their government and they're getting stuck in the bureaucracy and things are and there was a farmer just this week. He needed his agricultural permit. Saves him his tax exempt permit. You got to get it through revenue services. That was being held up. Nobody could find it. Nobody knew what happened to it. And these are real additional costs that are getting passed on to the farmers, and they're hurting significantly now. This was at an insult to injury. So we're able to get the right people on the phone, get it shaken loose, and he has his permit now. So that's just one example of many where it's rewarding to help those who need help. That where government may some of the bureaucracy, it's getting kind of stuck in the rut. Right. So helping with a lot of those cases, case by case basis, and you're seeing where government affects real people and how you can actually help as a legislator. Is certainly rewarding. A bill that's very near and dear to my heart. We've talked about it for many years now, since my freshman year. And Mike, again, I really want to thank you again. You've every time I want to come on and talk about it, promote it, let people know what's going on with that legislation. You had me on. You were always making sure the message got out on this legislation and the backstory on it, and to tell those who haven't heard or wasn't aware of it. I had gotten elected in 2018. You're there election night, and you talk about somebody who I hear when somebody's a parent for the first time or has a child for the first time, they get that anxiety or rush, like almost like, oh my God, what do I do now? And the movie The Candidate with Robert Redford, he had one at the end. He was like, "What do we do now?" Right? Yeah. And I sort of had that feeling for a little while after we had gotten elected. It was. I
saw you at the podium for a minute. You like a deer in the headlights for a minute. Your mother was there, and so you're like,
now what?
We did it because he unseated Steve Michatel. Who had been, in that seat for about 600 years.
But I'm glad you brought up Steve. I just say real quick on that issue. We sat down at the beginning of the race. Obviously, there were some differences as far as ideology, but we both agreed, let's keep this clean. Let's have this be a race that our young people can be proud of. Our young people can say, we can emulate that, and others can and try to set the example, set the tone for hopefully other races. And we did that. We kept it clean throughout the entire race. Steve remained an absolute gentleman, and I just think that's important to note that. And I was very proud of both of us, the way we conducted that campaign.
Well, you should be proud, because nowadays it's always throwing daggers and throwing. It can get so ugly, and that's what I don't like, is the example that it sets when you see that go back and forth. So it's nice to have just a nice clean race.
Yes, but we got elected, and there's one thing that's great. But what they do in Hartford is there's a bipartisan group of more senior legislators that have orientation for the people who just got elected. And I think you guys remember in grade school the cartoon, "I'm just a bill on the hill," the bill that goes jumping around.
I'm just a bill on Capitol Hill.
Hey, that's pretty good.
I watched it for years.
Okay, so you remember it, Kathy?
Yeah.
So they actually showed us that very video, and they showed us the research that you go through if you want to pass a law, and there's a whole office that does legislative research, so you know what the facts are before you introduce legislation. And based on the data, maybe you can draft the bill that fits the facts. And that's what I've tried to do. Well, I went through the first day of legislation. The first day of orientation. Second day, I was getting ready to go back up there. And I was getting dressed, running around, sweating, and
you don't sweat.
No, never.
You're sweating now. I remember the night you won. You sat there. Oh my God! And you needed like a towel wrapped around your neck. I mean, it was crazy.
Well, so I was.
At least we know he's hydrated.
Exactly. So you have to be up there. By the way, carry your own water. I don't believe in drinking offered water. There you go. So I went up there. I was watching television, and there was on Good Morning America, they were showing a case out of state, in another state, where there's a little boy that was he was amazingly talented and gifted. He was very sociable, performed very well in school, and he had gone away to camp. And when he came back, he was a very different child. He wanted to barricade himself in his room, didn't want to talk to nobody, didn't want to play outside, didn't want to interact with people. Parents knew there was something up here, there was something wrong. Well, come to find out, he had been sexually molested several times by his camp counselor during the weeks he was away at camp. What they discovered was this guy was a convicted child molester, did another behavior, another camp, and there was no background check conducted. According to that state's law, it wasn't required by state law.
Oh my God.
A map lit up as I was watching this, and one of the states that was highlighted that also required no type of check was Connecticut.
Oh my God.
I couldn't believe that. That was my feeling. I was like, I was skeptical at best.
How is that possible?
Yeah, I was like, this
really?
Can't be.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I had I'd gone in. I actually had that day had the Office of Legislative Research investigate it, check it out. Sure enough, no check is required.
Oh my God.
So we put the bill in 2019. I submitted the legislation requiring that check. We got it to the Children's Committee, and we got a hearing on the bill. It did get passed through committee. There were some lobbies that behind the scenes were trying to push back at it. Then it didn't want it, obviously.
For what reasons?
I think some people said the cost, and I'm not a regulation guy, as you said. We need to cut the red tape. But some people are saying, no, this is going to be another state regulation. Is this really a problem in our state? And so there's.
Do you want it to be? I mean,
exactly.
It's surprising what we don't have in place.
Right. And what we do.
There was an issue in Plainfield recently. A registered sex offender was going to the high school athletic fields in the afternoon and watching the girls practice.
And games and things.
And games, and he was talking to them and interacting with them. And there is no law in place saying he cannot go there.
Yeah.
The Board of Ed actually has to make a policy to say you can't be here, and then the police can enforce it.
Bizarre.
But there is no policy in place
or law in place saying that he can't be there.
No, it's insane. And you think camp? You're sending your child away for
you'd think they would
couple
be
weeks
safe
at a time.
That would be,
camp, right?
and you think that'd be a no-brainer.
Look, I want to be very, very clear on this. Most camps do wonderful work. The people who are there are fantastic people, well-intentioned people. However, those who want to harm children, they unfortunately they look to seek out children, and they want to look where. And the grooming process can happen very, very quickly.
Yep.
Somewhere where you don't take on the role as a parent for 2 or 3 weeks at a time.
Right.
They're away from home, and so we have to be very, very careful who we let in. So, anyways, we got it out of committee. Had stalled on the House floor 2019. 2020 got it. Had a hearing. 2 days after the hearing, Mr. COVID came knocking. Everything shut down, and then it brought us to 2021. And in 2020, and I want to get a neighboring district of mine, Greg Howard. He runs a youth football league, and he runs
Stonington Youth Football. I was just down there.
Okay.
a couple weeks ago. They faced Griswold, and we broadcast those games. I saw Greg. He's a great guy.
He is a great guy, and he's also a police detective for the Stonington Police Department. So he learned that with he does a full and proper background check. He's done that for years. His policy: nobody gets on the field till they run that check. So he learned people who are like high school people who are high school coaches. They have to go through a background check. Right? Middle school coaches through the schools have to go through the background check. But the older kid, like he said, older kids typically can advocate for themselves, are more prone to speak up. The littler kids, where there's like the little leagues, the youth leagues outside the schools, there was no check required. There's no background check required for the very young kids, and there should be a check in place for our older kids. But we should absolutely have that for the younger ones as well, and that was Greg's argument. So we added the section to the bill to allow for that as well.
Good.
And he actually testified before the Children's Committee that I was a member on in 2021 and 2022, and his testimony was invaluable. As a running a youth football organization, the background check that it's a very easy ask. The one he uses is $17 per check, right?
Yeah.
And you can easily do that background check, and you get it back within 48 hours. That's not a very hard ask to have our Kims go through it. So he explained that. He explained as from his expertise as a state police detective, as a Stonington police detective, that organizations that work with kids, particularly camps and youth programs, are more susceptible to be infiltrated by somebody who's trying to harm the children. That's why we need to make very, very sure we know who these folks are.
Yep.
And the bill got passed through committee, went to the House floor. It passed through the House almost unanimously, and went through the Senate unanimously, and the governor signed it. That still gave me some hope that we can still work together. We can still do things in a bipartisan nature. And look, I passed 4 bills in my 4 years in the legislature. I was in the minority for each one of those. So you need Democrat support in order to get things passed. So we have to work together. I think I've done that. But that doesn't mean we compromise our principles on things we disagree on, and we need to speak up and still have a lot of these great debates, and we still have a lot of work to do, no doubt about it.
Why does it take so long to get something that seems to be a no-brainer, slam dunk, to go through? Stan just said in the chat room, says, why does it, basically, same thing, why does it take so long to put in common sense safety measures for children in camp? Why? I mean, you introduced it right away. As a freshman representative, correct?
That's right.
Okay.
And
what was the opposition?
Publicly done. Like I said, there's different organizations. There's different types there's different tiers. Some background checks are fingerprint based, which costs $88. There's the non-fingerprint based, which is the one we have, which you use a social security number, and you can pretty much does the same type of check minus the fingerprints. So there was some debate about that, which one to go with. But it's and you had those who just did not want to be bound by another check for some reason. And this is simple too. I mean, you have to keep it on file, and it can be an electronic file. So when OEC, the Office of Early Childhood, when they go into a camp to do an inspection, they check for sanitariness and all this other checklist. They may look and say, okay, are you doing your background checks? So let me see the roster of employees. Let me see the checks that were done, and then make sure everything was done appropriately. This is not a huge ask, but I share Stan's sentiment, and that's one of the problems. One of the other challenges, Mike, and this is may not be the most popular answer, but I think the terms of office are too short for 2 years. In 2022, to be honest with you, we need term limits. The bill I put in was 2 4-year terms, 8-year maximum. But I'll tell you, it needs to be 4 consistent years, because every 2 years you have new people get elected. You may have a new Speaker of the House. You may have new committee members. You may have a new leader of one party or the other. When the membership changes. So every time that happens, you have to start from
Things get derailed.
from
Yeah.
scratch, and you have to rework the entire process. Typically, it takes 3 years to pass legislation. They say the first year it sleeps, then it creeps,
Which
then it
is
leaps.
nuts.
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, if you look at it this way, there's usually 5,000 pieces of legislation that get introduced every single session, right? Between 151 different reps and the 36 senators, usually you have 5,000 different bills flying around out there, right? Any legislator that's coming before you and saying they've read every single one of them that's been introduced, they're lying to you, right? It's not possible, right? So you have to, just like lobbyists advocate for their clients and advocate for their industries, we're essentially lobbying our other members for our bills and our legislation. So that takes some time. And then the ones that, what ones are going to get a hearing? Then, after the hearing is done, they decide what ones are going to move forward for a committee vote and move them out of committee compared to what ones are we going to let die this session. So that's how we come up with the 3 years. The saying goes, the first year it sleeps, then it creeps, then it leaps.
Okay.
If it has, if the bill has
that's a rep jargon right there.
So you've had 4 pass?
I've had 4 pass.
Wow. So that's quite an accomplishment then. I mean, given the numbers you just gave, that's a lot of work that you've gotten done and the time you've been in office.
Yeah, I'm proud of it.
Yeah, congratulations.
I've gotten a lot of help. Thank you. And I really credit the constituents who've helped me, who've gone up to testify, who've been part of that process. Because
you need a team. You need a team.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I'm very proud of Team 45. And
nice.
We've had some great people. We were able to get the crisis expansion, which started off as a pilot program right here in Griswold. Mike,
with Miranda and everything.
With Miranda, and then we got Diane Manning involved from United Services. We're able to get that expanded into
Northeastern Connecticut. Yep.
So we're going to have the whole eastern block of continuity. So the whole eastern part of the state now has crisis. And they're starting to move it west. It provides that advanced de-escalation CIT training for police officers. The ones who have it love it. The ones who haven't had it yet desperately want it. So we're able to get more police involved. The local PDs have latched on as well. So it brings together that mental health community along with law enforcement. So it's had much success, and it started right here in the borough. So
nice.
That's been something I been very proud of. So we're able to get that, and also the number of licensures, professional licensures that can do pre-committal, do the pre-committals for a mental health evaluation. So we're able to update those statutes. That's going to help the program immensely, and that's going to help free up our police and give the police more support where they can focus more on law enforcement calls, and we can have more of the mental health professionals and licensures worry about the pre-committals. So
how do we change this? I mean, I know there's a lot of police officers out there. Yeah. They won't even pull cars over anymore. Yeah. I mean, yesterday I was on Route 2, and there was a trooper that was behind me. Yeah. And honestly, a few years ago, I'd be like, what's he on my tail for? Right? I didn't even think that yesterday. It's like, whatever. And then 2-3 cars, boom, buzzed right by the trooper.
Yeah. Mike, let me ask you a question. If you're a police officer, would you want to pull somebody over?
Right now? Hell no.
They think about it. You're provided training. You're provided your SMPs, and you say, if you follow these guidelines, you act within the guidelines of your training, you have a qualified immunity, right? Where you don't have to worry about every time you arrest somebody, you have to start defending yourself and get sued. Yeah. That's not something you have to worry about. That being removed, think about every time you pull somebody over, every time you're doing some kind of proactive measure, you have to wonder, am I going to get sued? Is my family going to be out on the street? Are they going to take my house? And all these rushing thoughts, right? when there's a life and death emergency, and you got milliseconds to respond and make a decision, and now you're starting that's another question that's coming into the equation, and you hesitate. That's how people get hurt and killed.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, definitely.
And I'm gonna make this. I hate to make this a political issue, but it has to be known to people. when the legislature voted on this bill, on the qualified immunity piece of this legislation, it failed by one vote, not getting it, essentially passed by one vote, allowing for the qualified immunity, the most heinous part of the legislation, right? And in a number of these seats, people won their elections by 10 votes, 12 votes, 25 votes. So it was literally, if a handful of people came out in certain districts, we wouldn't have had qualified immunity. We would not have this bill. And quite frankly, I don't think we would have been seeing a crime jumping up the way it has. So elections have consequences. And I can't emphasize enough, know who's on your ballot, know these positions, ask people where they would stand on it, ask the tough questions. Will you vote to reform this bill to repeal it? Will you repeal will you reinstitute qualified immunity and repeal this legislation that passed? Don't be afraid to ask these questions and talk to friends and neighbors, talk to people in different districts, and remind them of this. We're afraid there's been a huge uptick in crime. Look at 5 convenience stores held by gunpoint.
It's violent
in the last couple of weeks.
Violence just seems to have escalated.
Right, and again, in that thin blue, when that thin blue line is getting even thinner, and you're prohibiting these brave men and women from doing their job, this is a consequence of that.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to another thing, and this is a hot button. And well, you just said it. Ask the tough question.
My butt is kind of warm here.
So here it comes. Where do you stand on Roe v. Wade?
I think it was an appropriate decision by the Supreme Court to turn it back to the states, where it's going to be taken up on a state by state issue. I think that was certainly appropriate. Look, I'm pro-life. I believe life starts at conception. I swore as a legislator, I swore an oath before God and my state that I would protect the life and freedom of my constituents. Right, that includes the baby in the womb. That baby does have unalienable rights, has their own right to life, and when the frequency that a woman chooses to get pregnant is absolutely 100% the choice of the woman. Once there's a baby there, I have an obligation as a legislator to protect and defend that baby's life, just like I do any other constituent's life. And that, quite frankly, that's how I'm going to continue to legislate as a legislator.
It's probably the most direct answer we've ever gotten about that question.
Yeah.
So whether people agree with you or not, thank you for being real straight up about that one.
And I'll tell you, Mike, I have friends in the legislature. I have colleagues on both sides that see it differently. They identify as pro-choice, but they've agreed with me that right now in Connecticut you can have an abortion up to the day of delivery. Right. To me, there is, other than the life of the mother, there is no reason for a third trimester abortion, right? Parental rights, parental notification, parental consent in Connecticut. A parent is, if your 12-year-old daughter goes for an abortion, you don't even have to be told as a parent. To me, that is absolutely abhorrent and unacceptable. This bill that got passed in May, HB 5414, I led the fight on that on the House floor. Essentially, it added midwives and nurses and APRNs that can now perform suction abortions in our state. It also protects doctors or those providers if they cross state lines. For example, if they go to the state of Rhode Island and they perform an abortion on a 12-year-old girl, in Rhode Island is a very, very strict parental notification law requirements in Rhode Island. A doctor could just go across the border here, perform an abortion on several minor girls without even telling their parents, come back across the border. If a criminal proceeding commenced in Rhode Island and they wanted that doctor extradited to face charges, we're going to harbor him here in Connecticut because he was following Connecticut law. So not only are we now we're passing our errors throughout the entire country, and they're harboring these providers that go out and could perform a late-term abortion in a state that requires, say, a 15-week. There's a 15-week limitation. They go perform a partial birth abortion. They come back. They could be harbored and protected. here in the state of Connecticut.
Wow.
So that's troublesome. But we had lost that battle, but I think we won the war as far as we had 15 Democrats join us, most Republicans, in opposing that legislation. It was a close vote. And I think that there's definitely an appetite for hopefully get a good, strong parental notification bill. And I really do not think there's a reason for. To me, there's no reason. I don't support abortion on demand, as you heard, but there's absolutely no reason we need to have third trimester abortions other than the life of the mother.
Mm.
Now think about it. Now the only places other than Connecticut and a few of the other states,
California,
California, that allows abortion essentially up to the day of delivery is North Korea and China. And quite frankly, I think we can do better than that. Yep. In England, it's anywhere from 12 to 15 weeks. There's no reason why we need to have such a late-term abortion procedure.
Kathy, do you have any questions for Brian?
None that I can think of right now. No.
Vicky, Victoria.
Oh, he let it slip.
Maybe I did that on purpose.
No, I think he did it on purpose. No, I think Brian's doing a great job.
Mhm.
And the fact that you got 4 bills through is awesome.
Yeah.
Keep up the good work. We're all behind you.
Thank you.
Definitely.
So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to step off, and then I'm just going to say, Representative Lanoue, just look right at this camera here.
I'm on the hidden camera. Okay.
Oh, it's right in front of you, dude.
What happened?
Excellent. All right.
I'm going to go ahead and kind of get centered on you.
All right.
Come on.
Okay.
I'm getting there.
I have one question while you're adjusting the
Sure.
camera.
Go for it.
Where are all those signs coming from? Everywhere I look, there are Brian Lanoue signs.
Especially Preston.
There's they're everywhere.
I've been blessed. The people are certainly supporting me. They're helping get my name recognition out and let people know I'm running. And a lot of the homeowners and voters have been very good to me. So I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, they're everywhere. Everywhere. It's like even another town. It's just crazy.
So I'm going to step off. We're gonna be quiet, and I just want you to take a look at the camera.
Okay.
And I want you to just for 2 minutes. You got 2 minutes. Tell everybody why you deserve their vote for the 45th district. Go.
Well, again, I want to number one thank all the people of the 45th district for the last 4 years trusting me to be their representative. It is truly touching. I'm humbled by it, and it's been an honor of my life to serve you in Hartford. I promised my mother 4 years ago when I first ran for state representative. I wanted her support because I know if I had her support, I'd get much more support because she's very tough to convince. And she said to me, she says, "I will support you as long as you never forget where you came from and who you represent." And Mom supported me for re-election in 2020, and she has again in 2022. So I feel like I've been loyal to the people of my district. I will tell you the truth. I will tell you what I know, good, bad, or ugly. As I mentioned, I've passed four bills in Hartford. I've done that while being in the minority party, whether it was from bringing our mental health and law enforcement communities together, strengthening our police, identifying those in greatest need with the opioid epidemic and the mental health, other mental health issues, protecting kids from sexual predators. We're able to get Voluntown into the top tier reimbursement for payment in lieu of taxes, the pilot program. So make sure they get equitable pilot funding. But our work's not done. We're going to have much to do over the next 2 years. We need to roll back a lot of these terrible laws that got passed that takes away and erodes parental rights. We need to get parents back in the driver's seat again in their kids' lives, whether it's education curriculum, knowing what vaccines are good for your children, making informed medical choice for your kids, and people coming together. And we need to get rid of the highway use tax on trucks. We need to protect our Second Amendment, and we need to protect life at all stages. And particularly recognize the value of our children and our senior citizens. Any great civilization, any great society is judged by how they treat their children and how they treat their the wisdom of their senior citizens. So we need to make sure we continue to bring people together and get the state moving in the right direction again. Again, for the record, Brian Lanoue, state representative from the 45th district, and I very much would be honored to have you vote again on November 8th.
Wow.
Good job, Brian.
Look at you go.
Thank you, Mike.
Oh,
Appreciate
thank you,
that.
man. Thanks for coming in.
There was no extra charge for that, was there?
Moving on. No, there was no charge for this. I mean,
moving on. Now, see, that's a political answer. I better watch out for my seat.
Right?
now you have people going, you have to pay for it? Do we get equal time? I don't know. All right. Thank you very much, Brian, for coming on in.
Mike, it was a pleasure, buddy.
No problem. Good to see you.
We'll talk soon.
All righty.
to see you
Always a
again.
pleasure.
I think Matt wants to talk to you downstairs.
Matt wants to talk to me downstairs.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll talk with Matt. All right. Take care,
Bye,
guys.
Brian.
See you later.
See ya.
All right. Representative Brian Lanoue running for his third term here in the